What time is it? It's Packard Pokes At time. Hat? Check. Shirt? Check. Pants? Optional. Mug? Double check. Check us out at cafepress.com/PackardPokesAt where you can get all this great merchandise and more.
Do you like Packard Pokes At and want to hear it on demand and on the go? Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. Available on iOS, Android, Nook, and iPad.
This is Packard Pokes At, and I'm poking at your news. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another fine edition of Packard Pokes At. I am your immutable and unmutable host, Packard Sonic. And joining me tonight from the ill of Illinois. No, can you be ill in Illinois? I think you'd have to be, wouldn't you? Is Dana, talking primate.
In the immortal words of the Grateful Dead fans, why can't we all just get a bong?
The kind of bongs that are usually around me are usually there's a bing before it. So it's a bing, bong, clock.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah. Of course you were. We're doing something different here on the show. On the short shows, instead of having 3 voices, we are moving to just 2. It's going to be me and one other co-host. We may have discussed this on the staff meetings. If you're downloading those, they are on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can download the staff meetings so you can get an idea of what we're going to talk about and what's coming up as like previews, and they are still all free. But if you would like to make a donation to help keep those free, just go to patreon.com/PackardPokesAt. Anyway, we have a good show for you tonight, so let's get on to our first topic for this evening.
Building a better future, science and technology.
The brain. It's such an amazing thing. And sometimes when you have your brain out, you got to get your groove on. Because you just got to dance. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
That was brilliant.
Thank you. And what's interesting about getting your groove on with your brain is that they have discovered a large groove on the right side of your brain, of the human brain. I should clarify that. Scientists do not know why on the right side of your brain you have a deeper groove. It was kind of discovered accidentally. They did scans on other primates and discovered that this particular groove that's on the right side of your brain, I'm doing it on the left side because it looks from the right to the left the other way on the screen. But on the right side of the brain, there's this long groove on that side. They speculate that because of this groove that's in the brain, that this maybe played a role in our evolution, and that maybe that's what causes us to be able to have better communication skills. I don't know. But as I was reading this, I was thinking, what if it has something to do with right or left hand gestures? People are right-handed, people are left-handed. Now, it doesn't say here in the article if they scan just people who are right-handed or just left-handed or both. It would be interesting to find out that if people who are left-handed, if this groove was on the opposite side of the brain. Dana, your thoughts?
Yeah, now we know where the term deep thinker comes from.
Yes.
That's for sure.
It's a deep groove.
Yeah, they were talking about in the article how the brain of our ilk, our people, our species, our primate species, humans, is actually asymmetrical, whereas the brains of what we shall call the lower primates, that's no offense to, orangutans, gorillas, and what have you. Not that they understood what I just said, but
yeah, because we're going to see that orangutan uprising, just like in Planet of the Apes, and they're going to go, "You said something bad about us. We're going to kill you."
So the brains of the lower primates actually are more symmetrical, which got me to thinking to dig a little bit deeper, and apparently research has also concluded that Republicans have brains that are in fact the most symmetrical of all the primate species, which would explain their inability to communicate and not understand what others are thinking.
Yeah, that would explain a lot. Torvian from the chat room said, "We discovered another hole. It's time for a mind fuck."
In fact, a recent MRI of Louis Gohmert and Michelle Bachmann's brains revealed no grooves whatsoever.
It was a solid mass. I think they call that Jello, actually.
Yeah. The saddest fact, of course, in this news piece is that it's completely irrelevant to people who still, after scads of evidence, still don't believe that we're related in any way, shape, or form to the lower primates.
Yeah, it is. That is really sad.
But kudos to the researchers who actually take the time to figure this stuff out.
Right.
And there are probably several reasons we have a different skill set than our cousins, but this one seems like a pretty logical assumption.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I'm just wondering, with this new research, how long is it going to be until someone re-drags out Einstein's brain to find out how deep his groove was?
Yeah, exactly. That would be kind of weird. Doc and Dog from the chat room said, what if we are ambidextrous? Do we have two grooves? That's a good question. They didn't say that in the article either. So that would be an interesting question I would like to pose to them if it was just people who were right-handed, left-handed, or, I didn't even consider the ambidextrous angle in there. Yeah.
Well, the article also said that they think that particular asymmetry is responsible for our speech and our ability to recognize what other people are thinking. Like facial expressions and what have you.
Exactly.
The sense of self that we have, as opposed to what, as far as the other primates can do it. So
yeah, it's probably some ancient relative of ours that said, "Hey, look what I could do with this rock," and it just went a little too deep with the shaving. So.
Oh, evolution! You stopped at Packard, but that's okay. That's okay. That's all right. You're at the top of your food chain. Okay, let's leave it at that.
Yes, I am, and every creature that's in my house knows this because they keep running away from me. Here he comes.
The ferret runs under the television.
If it did, it's not coming back out. I can tell you that.
Oh, that's true.
All right, well, let's get on to our next topic for this evening.
Teach me how to be sensible, logical, or responsible, practical.
And tonight we have our Name That Fallacy game. I'm going to read out a logical fallacy, and then we're going to discuss on which fallacy that this might actually be. The fallacy that's on for tonight is anyone that says that we should build the Ground Zero Mosque is an American-hating liberal. Is that A, appeal to wishful thinking, B, misleading vividness, C, ad hominem, D, appeal to authority? Which one do you think it is, Dana?
My vote goes with C right off the bat because you're automatically calling somebody a name.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
I don't know. Chat room, what do you think this is? Do you think it's A, B, C, or D? Duck and Doug wants to phone a friend. Torvian thinks it's B. Dawkins thinks it's C.
Misleading vividness.
Is this a game or a porn search? Actually, you are right, Dana. It is actually C, ad hominem.
Yay!
Yay! I should get some applause things in here. Yay!
There was much rejoicing.
Basically, the reason why it's ad hominem, and you nailed it, because you're basically calling them a name, which is, in this instance, you have run out of any argument to counter what they're going to say with any logic. So you just go to, well, you're stupid, you're a bad person, whatever. So you have no argument anymore after that.
That's right. You're an American-hating Kenyan Muslim liberal communist. Yeah, that.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
Benghazi.
Exactly. And Republicans are very well known for using this logical fallacy because they will often say, "Oh, the president, he's a Muslim or he's a Muslim lover. He won't do this because he's a Muslim lover or whatever." That is exactly that. It's an ad hominem attack. So
yeah. Obama's such a Muslim that he kills them all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay!
He's...
I love you. Oh my gosh, it's just like God. I love you. Drown.
Thanks, Obama. No.
That's right. Thanks, Jehovah.
Thank Jehovah. Torvi in the chat room said poisoning of the well. Yes, pretty much. Same. It's right around the same thing there, too. So, alrighty. Well, we got a quick commercial. If you would like to get in touch with us, we're going to give you all that information right now.
Contact us by email at ppappodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter as at Packard Pokes At. Like us on Facebook.com/Packard Pokes At. Call our Google Voice and leave a message at 662-709-PPAP or 662-709-7727, and we will respond to it on the show. Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time. Join us live at vonlive.tv/Packard Pokes At. During the show, you can share your thoughts with us by calling 857-216-3200 using PIN number 35368 or on uberconference.com/Packard Pokes At. For links to the stories, visit our show page at packardpokesat.wordpress.com. You can help support the show by purchasing merchandise from cafepress.com/Packard Pokes At or make a donation to the show at patreon.com/Packard Pokes At. If you can't afford any money, why not share the show with your friends and rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spreaker, and on YouTube. For everyone that shares and rates us, you kick ass.
That was Connie's daughter's boyfriend, Christopher, I do believe, who did that. He did a fine job. Anyway, if you would like to make a donation to the show, you can go to patreon.com/Packard Pokes At, where you can make a donation for as little as $1 once a month to the show. It'll help keep the lights on around here, keep this internet flowing, and keep me in my seat checking out things and looking for things for us to talk about every Friday. And speaking of which, not this next Friday, but the Friday after, in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing something even more radical. Every last show of the month that we're going to be doing, we're going to have a discussion topic. We're just going to sit down, chew the fat with one topic discussion. So go to facebook.com/Packard Pokes At and give us an idea of what you want us to talk about. And we will open the phones up and you can call in and you can talk to us and we can all kind of talk together and figure out what we're going to, hash out whatever it is we're going to talk about. So go over there and make that suggestion, what you want us to talk about, and we'll be doing that in about 2 weeks. Anyway, let's get on to our next topic for this evening.
Religion easily has the greatest bullshit story ever told. Think about it. Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky.
Over in Egypt, there is a 21-year-old man. His name is Karim El-Bana, and his own father testified against him in court, saying that he was blaspheming against Islam. Now, the thing is he was handed down a 3-year prison sentence over this, and if he pays a bail of 1,000 Egyptian pounds, or basically $140, or 117 euros if you have it, the sentence can be suspended until the verdict is issued by an appeals court. And the appeal was to be heard on March 9th. Not sure if that's the March 9th that's coming up or if this was from before, but it seems like this is a fairly new story. It came out back in earlier this month. And the fact is that apparently the charges are he went to file a complaint against them at a police station. He was accused of insulting Islam and was arrested, and who had been tracking this is someone who's been tracking his case for quite a while, and apparently he's been in custody since just since this last November. So yeah, that would be this March 9th he's going into trial here. Back in December of 2012, another blogger, Aber Saber, was sentenced to 3 years in jail on charges of blasphemy. So this is not just an isolated incident. In fact, I did some research on this, and I thought that the most countries out there that had blasphemy crimes on the books still would be pretty low. It's 2015. I thought, maybe 10, maybe 7 at the most. Turns out there is a total of 39 different countries out there that have blasphemy laws. I'm just going to name a few here. some of that are surprising and some that are not so surprising. The ones that are not surprising: Afghanistan, Algeria, Bangladesh, Egypt, as we just recently learned, India, Indonesia, and Iran, and like I said, there's a number of these. But the most surprising ones that I found were Australia. Now, what's interesting about that, because the territories and the Commonwealth of Australia are not uniform in their treatment of blasphemy, and the blasphemy is an offense in some jurisdictions, but not in others. And apparently the last attempted prosecution for blasphemy by the Crown occurred back in the state of Victoria in 1919. Here in the United States, we think our neighbors to the north, Canada, is, pretty secular. Unfortunately, they also have blasphemy laws. Not quite blasphemy laws, as it were, but they have this thing called blasphemously libel. So if you say something that someone doesn't like up there, you could be held blasphemously liable. It's like if I said to Dana that he's too tall for his pants or something. I don't know, whatever,
Oh, I wish.
That would be, and it turns out it wasn't true. I could be liable. I could be sued for libel. But in this instance, it's blasphemy libel. And another one that I found was really interesting was from the Netherlands. Now, they prohibited blasphemy by provision in its penal code from the 1930s. It was blasphemy until December of 2013. So they have had a long climb, and it's only been 2 years since the time of this program right now, since they have actually gotten rid of their blasphemy laws. That one I found was rather surprising. And another one here that I thought was really interesting was in Iceland. Blasphemy is forbidden with a fine or a prison sentence up to 3 months. The Constitution also mentions the state religion and a religion in general. Dana, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I'm really glad we don't have that here. Otherwise, I'd be serving a life sentence for surely.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah, so before we get back to what happened to our friend in Egypt, since you brought it up in the blasphemy laws,
all right,
I did a little research on this myself, and apparently one of the ones you didn't mention was Ireland, which still has blasphemy laws on the books.
Yep.
However, it's actually pretty recent news, actually, after the Paris shooting. I know it's horrible to laugh at what happened at Charlie Hebdo, but every time I say Paris shooting, I think it sounds like parachuting.
No, parachuting.
After the Paris shooting, that it's probably time to repeal these blasphemy laws if they really want to honor Charlie Hebdo. And so that's actually in the works. That's actually going to be run through Parliament soon. So that's some progress, I guess. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yes.
And of course, Ireland has a long history of doing things a little bit backwards and holding on to dogma.
Yeah.
Like with the IRA and what have you. And the other one that really shocked me was Denmark.
Yeah.
Of all things. And not like the Muslims that are in Denmark. Like Denmark proper still has those laws on the books, but they haven't actually been used since 1938, and that had something to do with the Nazis of all things.
And Dawkins Dog in the chat room had mentioned the UK had only abolished the laws back in 2008, and as I understand it, I'd have to pull the file up here, but as I recall, there was still some blasphemy laws that were still on the books out there in the UK. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, it says here, it said the blasphemy laws of the United Kingdom were specified to blasphemy against Christianity. The last attempted prosecution under these laws was in 2007 when the fundamentalist group Christian Voice sought a private prosecution against the BBC over broadcasting of the show Jerry Springer. Well, Jerry Springer should be abolished anyway because that one's just not blasphemy. That's blasphemy against reason. And people who actually use more than 2 brain cells. So if you're going to talk about blasphemy with Jerry Springer, just on that alone, because it's an insult to, intelligence.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue against that.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, if you have to go into an archaic law that was written like at the start of your Constitution to get rid of Jerry Springer, have at it, Hoss.
But Dawkins was right. He said but it says here on March 5th of 2008, that an amendment was passed in the Criminal Justice and Immigration Act of 2008, which abolished the common offenses of blasphemy and blasphemous libel in England and Wales. The common law is abolished but not repealed. The act received royal assessment back on May 8th of 2008, and the relevant section came into force of July 8th of 2008. So, yeah, it's apparently there was a film back in 1989, just a year later, The Visions of Ecstasy, was the only film banned from the UK for blasphemy. So they apparently, even though they had the blasphemy laws repealed, they're still banning movies based on laws that they can't enforce. That doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, not really, no. But who says laws ever make sense?
Yeah, tell me about it. That's true in itself. So Dawkins said it wasn't Jerry Springer show. Well, it was. It's Jerry Springer the opera. That's what it was. The opera. So I was. How the hell would you make an opera out of Jerry Springer?
I don't know. I think there's a chair in it.
Yeah, definitely a chair being thrown. Although,
so, go ahead.
I was going to say, although Weird Al did make a good parody for Jerry Springer's song on that. So
that is true.
Did you have any other thoughts on this?
Oh yeah. Okay. So just want to bring it back. To Egypt.
Oh yes, of course.
The last line of that article that you had referenced said that Egypt's constitution actually outlaws insults against Islam as well as Judaism and Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if you want to really make fun of Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses, you got to go to Egypt.
Yes.
The gloves are off. So what's really sad about this whole thing is that when Egypt was like more of a dictatorship under, not Mubarak, the one before him, it was actually well on its way to becoming a more secular society.
Yes.
And then they got all like smushy, touchy-feely with the religion, and now it's Muslims like fighting Christians, and Christians are claiming persecution, and
when aren't the Christians claiming persecution?
Well, but okay, let's keep it real. This is actually one time when Muslim fundamentalists bomb Coptic Christian churches.
Yes, I agree.
That's persecution. This isn't American Christian persecution. This is real Christian persecution.
Right, exactly.
And I feel for them. But, all you'd have to do is give up your silly beliefs, and then you'd be fine. Oh, wait, nope. Then you'd be an atheist, and then you'd really be fucked.
Just like that poor guy is, It's
So it's kind of like the things that are going on in the Middle East. There's this generation gap that's gonna take over eventually. It's just kind of like waiting it out, because there are really high. What's the best way to put this? The people who are like in charge, you're like imams and your religious leaders or whatever. They're really pushing against non-belief. And I got a teenager. You know how hard it is to, you know what happens when you tell a teenager not to do something?
Oh, they go out and do it.
Yeah, they go out and do it. I mean, because young people are like, oh, you're telling me that it's bad? Then it must.
That must be something I really
need.
That's something I really need to check out for myself.
Absolutely. Yeah, but, and it comes as no surprise. I mean, the recent events at, Charlie Hebdo, and they're just like a clear indication of how some people just think that people should react to the criticism of a religion.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the Pope himself just recently said that if you mock religion, you should expect to get punched.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's I was just watching.
Thank you, Pope Francis.
Yeah, I was just watching The Way of the Mister, and that's Mr. Deity, and he was talking about this, and he was basically telling the Pope to go fuck himself, and I don't generally retweet or post things on my Twitter that's, has swear languages on it, because I try to keep that as clean as I possibly can. Unlike this podcast, I swear left and right.
You can always come over to my Facebook page for swears.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. I don't mind, and I won't mind swearing on my blog page either. But on this particular one, I posted that out, and he said, fuck the Pope. And I have been saying for a long time that this Pope is a piece of shit, and don't be fooled by his, charm. And just the other day, with that statement saying, you can only go so far. You're not allowed to say something against someone's religion. Then you know what, Pope? Fuck you. Fuck you in the ass. Although he might like that,
he might. He might. Although, actually, I don't think he would like that, because it was today, actually, he said that letting gays marry will be along the lines of the downfall of civilization, or
geez.
against what God intended or whatever. So he's showing his true colors. He's spreading his little peacock wings now, and he was okay with the poor and whatever, and people were starting to get into him, and now he just he got all conservative again, and people are like, meh.
Yep. If you have to use a weapon to prove your point or to protect your God, then your point was lost, and your God is small or non-existent, and your God has a teeny tiny little penis or clitoris or titties or whatever, because your God can't protect itself if you're afraid of someone saying something bad about it. Anyway, now I got that out of my system.
Yeah, you did.
All right. With that, we'll get on to somebody who has no problem with thinking for themselves.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
And on tonight's Did You Know They're an Atheist, we're going to be talking about somebody who's very rich and flies a lot. Actually, we're going to be talking about Richard Branson. He writes in his autobiography, Losing My Virginity, because he's the head of Virgin Airlines, on page 239, he says, quote, I do not believe in God, but as I sat there in my damaged balloon capsule, hopelessly vulnerable to the slightest shift in weather or mechanical fault, I could not believe my eyes, unquote. So even in his roughest time, he still says, I do not believe in a God. Now, I come across so many Christians out there that'll say, well, you just wait till you get into a bad position, and then you're going to be going, oh, God, I believe in you now because I'm in a bad way. Bullshit. Bullshit. I call bullshit. Because Richard Branson, he was trying to fly around the world. His balloon crashed, although George Carlin has had some choice words to say about rich people flying around the world in balloons. But he was in a crash, and he still didn't say, oh, you know what? I'm going to pray to Allah. I'm going to pray to God. I'm going to pray to Jehovah. I'm going to pray to the bullshit man in the sky. No, he didn't say that. He said, I'm an atheist, and this is just one of those things that's happening to me. And even though, the slightest shift of the breeze could topple my carriage here over, but he still didn't believe in a God. Dana, your thoughts?
Yeah, that theme song that you have is basically the same one you play for this whole segment, right?
Yes.
And I couldn't think of any song that would even be more appropriate for Richard Branson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's trying to commercialize space travel. So
yes.
Good on you. Okay, a couple of things here. Firstly, for those of you who don't know who Richard Branson is, just please do not confuse him with Branson, Missouri, because Richard Branson sets his mind on outer space. The folks that visit Branson, Missouri, are already in outer space.
Yeah.
Oh, also, so Christian and Muslim fundamentalists had a hard time believing that Richard Branson was in fact an atheist. After all, he named his aerospace company Virgin.
Exactly.
See, now the one-liners come out. Before I was all mad. Now they're out again.
There you go.
He did an interview on CNN where he basically said to hack talk show host Piers Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
No, is that his name? Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan, yeah.
Oh yeah. He just asked him flat out. He's like, I heard you're an atheist. Richard basically said, I would love to believe. It's very comforting to do so, but he can't. And I think that speaks volumes about religion as really nothing more than, like Nietzsche said, like an opiate of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So the latest news on Richard Branson is he wants to send thousands of, well, actually it's not thousands, this is like 658 internet satellites up into space.
Wow.
Yeah, basically giving everybody the internet.
Oh, that'd be awesome. For free?
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if it's going to be free, but, he wants to give he wants to be able to give people who can't access the internet now, like in the rural regions of Africa or whatever, the opportunity to get online.
Oh, that would be good.
And oh yeah,
then we get more Nigeria scammers that we can't track.
Dear Mr. Last name spelled wrong. Right?
Dear Mr. Nigerian Prince, I don't want your millions of dollars.
That's right. That's right, because I have the internet now, and I'm rich in thought and mind. So
right.
I don't, I don't need your personal information.
Right.
But give it to me anyway.
Right.
So the only question is, will each one of the satellites say "No God up here" on them? They might. They might.
If I had his money, that's exactly what I do. I put it in fine print or on the out. I put it on the outside of it. Actually, just kind of large letters. So no God required to make this satellite work. There
you go. Yeah, I mean, Richard Branson, just another example of how a rational human being who discards religion just does amazing things without God.
Exactly. Dawkins Dog.
There's a lot of them over there.
Yeah, Dawkins Dog in the chat room had said, Virgin Birth travels the world, turned water into cheap cola, and he's the cut price Jesus.
He's even got the long hair and the tan.
Yeah, he does. He's got the mustache.
He's like Mormon
too.
Jesus.
He's Mormon Jesus.
He's like Mormon Jesus. They think like he was but he's British though. See, but Mormon Jesus is an American.
Right. I wonder how many people were virgins before they get on the Virgin Airlines. I have no idea where the joke was going.
I don't know, but something about the Mile High Club or
Mile High Club, yeah.
The 3 Mile High Club.
I was a 3 Mile High virgin until I got on the Virgin Airlines. So that's the whole that's the whole meaning for that. It's like you won't be a virgin when you get off the airplane. So
there you go. How would you like to have the distinction of being able to brag to people that you actually had sex in zero gravity?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's NASA's already done that. They just don't talk about it.
Oh, you did that already?
Yeah, I was up there already. Actually, my feet have never actually left the ground or anything to actually still attached to it. So,
God,
the closest thing I've ever been into an airplane was like a DC-10 or something, but it was still on the ground. So I never actually. So that doesn't count.
Oh, you got bumped off that flight?
No, I was actually on a tour when I was in kindergarten. It's been that long ago since I was actually in an airplane, as it were. We got to walk through one, so that was. Many...
Oh my goodness! Have you ever been on a plane before?
Other than that,
aside from like up in the air?
Nope, never, not once.
Okay, that's www.patreon.com/Packard Pokes At. Get this guy a plane ticket. You know what you're like right above me, right? I tell you what, I'll get you a plane ticket from Milwaukee to Chicago.
That means I would have to drive.
See what it's like.
That would mean I would have to drive all the way to Milwaukee. So I might as well just go the extra hour to drive to Chicago from there.
See, and this is why you don't fly.
This is why I don't fly, because I already know how long it's going to take me to get there. So I'm going to drive for 3 hours to drive to Milwaukee to get in, so where I could just drive another hour to get into Chicago.
Yeah, but I'll buy your plane ticket. In fact, I'll schedule it like the return trip just like an hour later.
There you go.
So you could just like sit around in the airport for an hour, just go, up and down the stairs again, go over to your other gate and fly back. and then drive another 3 hours back.
Yeah, that doesn't look suspicious at all. Actually, what's weird about what you just said there? I actually had I don't remember. It was a number of months ago. I actually had a dream about something like that. I got into an airplane, flew somewhere, got on another airplane, just came back right where I started. So you're not too far off in that. That's the closest to me.
I'm trolling your dreams. I don't know.
You've been trolling my dreams for months ago. So in advance, apparently. So Dawkins Dog apparently never flown either. He did go aboard a Concorde test plane when it was on the ground, but it was grounded though. Do they still have? I don't know if they even still have the Concorde planes anymore. I think they've all been mothballed, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, doesn't matter. Richard Branson, he's an atheist. Check him out and check out his autobiography, Losing My Virginity. And the quote is right there on page 239. All right, well, we got to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for coming. We'll be back next week with our regular longer show, and we will see you there. This has been Packard Pokes At. We just poked at your news.
And that's a wrap.